we have a new person joining us. We have two new
Yeah.
people. Um, there is Hamid.
Yeah.
He's in a car right
Oh,
now. You can see the background out the window moving by him. So he's in a car
Oh, yes.
driving in Cairo.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I'm
okay.
not driving.
Hello.
he's not driving. Someone else is
Yeah.
driving him.
Someone said yes. Okay.
Um,
Hi, good
Hi.
morning, everyone.
and
Good
here's
morning,
Anna
everybody.
and Ian. How are you, Ian?
I'm good.
Oh,
Good morning, all.
We'll give it a little bit more of a opportunity to see if anyone else joins us. Reggie just sent a message saying he can't join. I'm hoping Graham joins. I don't want too many new people coming on all at once, but I've got a few more people in the pipeline who are interested. But we'll see. Hopefully, Graham. It's 3:30 in the afternoon where he is. I believe is in Nottingham. I have to check. He's got a slight northern vowel English accent. Anna, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for adding me to the group. I really appreciate it.
And you live in Brooklyn or just New York?
I live in Brooklyn, New York. I've
Okay.
lived here most of my life. And I am bicultural, I guess. I come from Macedonia.
mhm.
And I am very interested in Gurdjieff because it relates to what I really love, which is really tapping into myself and trying to understand more of how much I can understand about me being in this world.
Yeah. And I should mention that Anna has been on the Sufi path. There's a variant of Sufism called
Bektashi.
Baktishia that is centered in Albania, but it's in the Balkan region. And I've actually did a little bit of research on it since I talked to you. And it sounds like it's a very open and ecumenical form of Sufism. I guess being in the Balkans, sort of east and west, it's opened up to a lot more influences. But they have the Sheikh and the Sufi saints, and you were part of a Sufi organization in Detroit back in the 80s, 90s. So she's coming from that background. Do you want to say a little bit more about that, Anna?
Yeah, sure. It's really a connection to God, and it's a path. It's about you, and you concentrate mostly on yourself and not in changing others. You try to become a good example, and whether it's conflicts or things that you cannot connect to the world or you're upset about, you always try to see to go back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always work.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull this is the Wikipedia page. So if anyone's interested, Bektashi order, the Bektashi order, it's centered in Albania, but it's throughout the Balkans. So there's a Wikipedia page. There are. Let's see what kind of images we can bring up. So can we all see the pictures of the saints?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the from what I was reading. I'll stop sharing this. It's been part of the in the Balkans since 1300s. So there's it's like kind of the East meets West. Very open to all paths, all religions, all truths, very non-dogmatic.
It tries to connect all religions, actually, and
Yeah.
it does. Into, everyone has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
Instead
I'm
of
not
just
sure
putting a wall into each one of the religions out there.
Yeah. We've just lost Ian and Ahmed. um, spiritual
Sorry.
practice.
Turning my video off for a second.
Oh,
Still
okay.
here.
Okay. Got to pick the lint out of your beard. And Ahmed, we can see he's in a car. If you look, you can see street lights moving in the background. He's not driving.
Yes.
He's in Cairo, Egypt, in a
Yeah.
car. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Actually, I'm an architect. I'm a practicing architect since 1990. I have 28 years of experience now practicing architecture in Cairo, Egypt, and in the Middle East. And at the same time, I'm very much interested in self-development and training. So I work as a trainer as well. I'm certified from Dale Carnegie as a corporate trainer. And I'm an NLP practitioner, Reiki practitioner, and Enneagram teacher. I've been interested in the Enneagram studies since 2011. I became a teacher a year ago, certified from Dr. Debbie Otten School in Cincinnati, America. And now I'm practicing also teaching the Enneagram. And also I'm very, very much interested in Sufi, what is called Sufi Enneagram, which is another school by Dr. Layla Bakhtiar, which is digging after the Enneagram symbol and its relation to the Sufi schools, specifically the Naqshbandi and the Khulwati, which are more or less Mr. Gurdjieff has been engaged with those Sufi groups in his earlier life. And most probably he got this symbol from them. So the Sufi Enneagram is a little bit different from the Enneagram of typology. It's much more linked to the wisdom, the temperament, and the courage, which are the three virtues instead of the 9 virtues, the Enneagram of typology. And of course, I'm extremely fascinated by Mr. Gurdjieff and reading about Mr. Gurdjieff and his legacy.
Okay. Here Graham is joining us, I believe. Give it a minute. Are you in downtown Cairo, Ahmed?
Yes, this is downtown. Yeah, I can hear you. Can we hear me?
Yes, oh yes, we can hear you
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I was talking to Graham last night. I've been friends with Graham on Facebook for a while now and sent him material. I'm a wealth of material. So, books that I quote and stuff like that. Just have to ask me and I can send you electronic copies. There's Graham.
Hi.
Graham, how are you doing?
I'm good. I've just put a top on. I was top on. I had to set all the speakers up so I could so you could hear me properly and whatnot.
Yeah. I forgot to. Are you in Nottingham or where are you?
I'm in Nottingham. Yeah, Nottingham.
So that's slightly north. I lived in York for 7 years, which is a bit further north than Nottingham. But you've got some of the northern vowels. And do you consider yourself a northern lad?
Well, I suppose I've lived all over, really. I mean, I lived in Hartlepool for a while as well. I used to have the accent. Then I moved back here when I was in my teens, and I acquired the Nottingham accent again. I used to say, instead of "come on," I would say no, what was it? Hang on. Yeah, away. Instead of that was it. Away. And now I don't say any of that. I don't speak like that anymore.
Yeah. England is one of the most linguistically diverse countries for English in the world. You get on a train, you go for 20 minutes, you get off, and they're speaking a completely different variety of English.
Right.
From north to south, east to west. I spent 7 years in a city, 120,000 people, York, which is a beautiful medieval city. And by the end of my 7 years there, accent, I could tell if someone came from the north side of the river as opposed to the south side of the river. That's how specific accents were.
Sure.
Graham, can you just briefly introduce yourself, your connection to the Gurdjieff teachings, your connection to spiritual development and spiritual work?
What do you want me to say? Well, I've been interested in the Gurdjieff work since my teens, and then I stopped for a period, and then because of life situations and things like that, and then I started it up again. I can't really answer why I did that, but I just started reading again about 3 years ago now. I'm 40 years old now. I just started reading again and got involved in the groups online. I'm involved with the group on Twitter at the moment, the Beelzebub's Tales. And I've been reading a lot of Red Hawk's books and things. Yeah,
Red Hawk has written books on self-remembering and self-observation.
That's it.
Okay, welcome. So there are 3 new people joining us this week. I'm going to have a few new people joining us next week, and maybe one other person joining us the week later. I'm trying to stagger it. I'd like to get the numbers up to about 10. And before, when I started this, I asked everyone if they could make sure that they come on a weekly basis. But, last week we were down to 3, Guido, Ian, and myself. So I realized it was time to bring the numbers back up again, because we can all add different things to the mix, different experiences. We can explain things differently. The most important dimension of all spiritual of all spiritual traditions, of all mystical traditions, is the inner work that we do. We can read all the books we want. We can fill our mind with wonderful ideas. We can sort of talk about incredible ideas and speak about them from our head brain.
Yeah.
But without doing the practices, without focusing on the inner work, there will be no growth, no development of our inner being, no growth at the higher levels.
That's very true.
The mystical path is all about growing at the higher level. Now, one of the things that Mr. Gurdjieff said, it's very important to begin a lot of inner work from a state of relaxation. So right now, wherever you are, we've got Guido, he's in Colombia, Medellin, Anna in Brooklyn, Ahmed in Cairo, Ian in Portland, Oregon, Graham in Nottingham, England, and myself in Toronto, Canada. So we're a diverse group from all around the world. But wherever we are, just begin by becoming aware of our sense of balance.
Something I've had problems with at the moment with this labyrinthitis.
And I'm going to mute the backgrounds because I don't want a lot of talking right now. So I'll just mute the whole. Whoops. Where can I just want to.
Let me just go and close this door and whatnot, and then.
Sure. Just a second. Yeah, I'm just going to mute everyone so you'll see your screens muting. This way we don't have to worry about coughing or whatever. So let's begin with the sensation of balance. And corollary to the sensation of balance is an awareness of gravity. Now we have special receptors in our brain to monitor the effect of gravity on our body, as well as balance, so that we are in an upright position. So becoming aware of the effect of gravity on our body, becoming aware of our sense of balance, and then perhaps we can notice the temperature of the air around us. And we can also possibly notice the internal temperature of our body. And just in your best way, attempt to bring your awareness back into your physical self. Now, through tension, through unnecessary movements, we waste energy, we leak energy. And through tension, through holding certain parts of our body tense, this is actually a form of subconscious physical identification. I have a tendency to clench my jaw. So when I relax, it's important for me to focus on relaxing my jaw. Now, the place we hold the most tension in our body is actually in our eyes. And as a hypnotherapist, I know how important it is for me to get my clients to relax their eyes. So I'm just going to lead us through a brief relaxation exercise. You can do this with your eyes open or even with your eyes closed. It doesn't really matter. But I want you to start with your eyes. I want you to just focus on your eyes and do your best to relax your eyes in whatever way you can. Now we have muscles attached to the top and bottom of our eyes that allow our eyes to look up and down. We have muscles attached to the right and left sides of our eyes, which allow our eyes to move from side to side. And these muscles all flow up, under, around our eyes, into the eye socket in the back, and they connect to the bone at the back. So just try to be conscious of them. Try to relax them, particularly as they move deeper into the eye socket. We also have an eyelid lifter muscle, so just try to relax that one. And then imagine sort of a circle, a ripple of relaxation spreading out from our eyes, up into our forehead, down into our face, down into our nose, down into the sides of our head. So relaxing our eyebrows, our forehead, relaxing our cheekbones, our cheeks, our nose, our lips, our mouth, our chin, our jaw. Spreading sideways, relaxing the masticator muscles, the main muscles at the sides of our face involved in chewing. Relaxing the temporal muscle over our temple bone, the various muscles associated with our ears. And then bring this relaxation down into our throat, into our neck, into our shoulders, and then move it down our upper arms, really focusing on the upper arms as well, on the elbows, on our lower arms, on our hands and fingers. And then bring our awareness back to our eyes again and try to relax our eyes a little deeper. And this time bring that relaxation again down into our throat, neck, and shoulders. We actually also keep a lot of tension in our shoulders and neck. Our head and our brain is actually a very heavy part of our body. And 20% of the body's resources in terms of blood and nutrients are used by our brain. So we've got these large veins or arteries that go up our neck and in various places. And when we think about it, you know, our spine is actually fairly tiny, but we've got all of these muscles, you know, in our neck, in our throat, down to our shoulders, down to our collarbone, all designed so that we can hold our head up. So do your best to relax your throat, your shoulders. Just allow that part of your body to relax a little deeper. And then bring it down into your chest and upper back, your shoulder blades, down to your midriff, middle back, down to your abdomen, pelvis, lower back, relaxing your buttocks, your hips, your upper legs, knees, lower legs, feet, top and bottom of your feet, your heels and your toes. And if you notice, I'm doing it from the head down. Mr. Gurdjieff said that for relaxation, it's good to begin at the top and then move down from the head down to the feet. Now, I'm not going to go into it today, but I will briefly mention that there is something called a draining exercise. And I have a YouTube video on the 3 levels of muscular relaxation, followed by the draining exercise, followed by the decision exercise. And that's on my YouTube channel, Toronto Hypnotherapist. And briefly, the draining exercise is to imagine tension draining down from our head, almost like the tension was a liquid, and the liquid slowly pours out of our body, ultimately through our hands and through our feet. Now, it's very important to learn to be able to relax the body fairly quickly. I can actually put my body into a fairly relaxed state within a matter of seconds. But I've been practicing doing this for years. And if we're holding tension somewhere, if our shoulders are tense or our jaw is tense, it inhibits the possibility of inner work. So being able to relax the body fairly quickly. And I would like you to breathe into your eyes and then breathe relaxation down your body. Breathe into your eyes and perhaps up to your forehead, and then just relax as you breathe out down to the bottom of your feet. Breathing in and then just relaxing your eyes and the rest of your body downwards. Just to get your body in a nice, comfortable state of awareness. Now, the next important step, preliminary step, it's a basic step, is to develop the sensation of self, the awareness of our physical body. Now, Mr. Gurdjieff said it's a good idea to practice relaxation from the head down, but he also said it's good to practice self-sensing and the awareness of our body moving up from our feet to our head. And I'm not going to do Mr. Gurdjieff's filling exercise quite the way it's normally done, but I want us just to begin and bring our awareness, bring our sensations, our awareness down to our toes. And awareness is a property of the prefrontal cortex, the most advanced part of our brain. The conscious manipulation of our awareness is something that separates us from other animals. Chimpanzees, dogs are not able to bring their awareness down to their toes. And this starts in the head, and it's a faculty of the head brain and the advanced part of the head brain. Now, your subconscious mind was always aware of the sensation of your toes. It was always aware of the joints in your toes, the bones in your toes. But when we bring this power of attention, we can also call it mindful awareness. When we bring this power of our attention down from our head to our toes, we actually align our conscious and our subconscious minds, at least in the sensation of our toes. Now, within these teachings, it's very important to really learn to distinguish various parts of our body, particularly our fingers and toes. And there are a lot of exercises devoted to the different sensory awarenesses we can have around our fingers and toes. So do your best and realize that this is a muscle that we develop, but try to become aware of your big toes. And then move to your second toes. And then move to your middle toes. And our middle toes are actually connected with the fourth toes. So when we move our middle toe or our fourth toe, the middle toe moves and the fourth toe moves. But try to develop the awareness of your middle toe as separate, and then the awareness of your fourth toe. And then become aware of your baby toes. So becoming aware of your toes, becoming aware of the joints in your toes. And then move your awareness inwards into the bones and into the flesh in your feet. Become aware of your instep. Become aware of the top and bottom of your feet. And then move your awareness back into your heels. And then up from your heels towards your ankles. Now try to become aware of your feet all at once. Just the sensation of your feet from your toes to your heels all the way up to your ankles, and then including your ankles. And then move up slowly, up through your lower legs. So through the muscles, the two bones in your lower legs. There are muscles in the front, your shins. There's a bunch of muscles in your back, muscles in the sides. Move your awareness slowly up your lower leg, up to your knees, and become aware of your knees. And then do your best to become aware of your feet and your lower legs all at the same time. Developing this awareness from your toes, through your ankles, up through your lower legs, to and including your knees. And then slowly move up from your knees, the front of our legs, there's quite a few muscles, the hamstrings in the back of our legs. Become aware of your thighs. Try to penetrate a little bit deeper into your thigh bone. Just bring your awareness up your thighs to your hips. And then try to be aware of your feet, your lower legs, your knees, your upper legs, all the way to your hips. Try to become aware of your legs and feet. And then move up your buttock, up your hips. Become aware of your pelvis. Become aware of your pelvic bones. And become aware of your reproductive organs. And then move up slowly into your pelvic region, into the pelvic bones, into the bones in the back of your hips, moving up into your lower abdomen, lower back, moving up into your solar plexus, midrib, middle back, moving up to the center of your chest, your underarms, your shoulder blades, and then coming right up to your shoulders. And now try to be aware from the tips of your toes, through your feet, heels, ankles, up through your lower legs, knees, upper legs, hips, buttocks, pelvis, up through your lower torso, middle torso, up to your shoulders. And then become aware of your hands. And again, I would like you to become aware of your thumbs. Then become aware of your index fingers, your middle fingers, your fourth fingers, your baby fingers, and become aware of the palms of your hands, the top of your hands, and become aware of your whole hands. And then move up to your wrists, up through your lower arms. There's all sorts of muscles in the lower arms, and there's two bones in the lower arms. So try to become aware of the bones and all of the muscles, moving up to your elbows, and then up through your upper arms to your shoulders. And try to sense your whole arms from the tip of your fingers all the way up to your shoulders. And then try to develop this awareness of your body from the tips of your toes, the tips of your fingers, up through your legs, up through your arms, up through your torso, all the way up to your shoulders. And then begin to move up through your throat to neck, up to where your neck connects to your skull, and become aware then of your jaw, become aware of your mouth, your tongue, your teeth, become aware of the inside of your mouth, moving up, let's move up through the face, so the facial bones, moving up through the cheeks, moving up to the roof of the mouth, the nasal passage in the mouth, the eye sockets, the ears, then moving up through the forehead, the sides of the head, and then going back to the back of the head, the occipital bone in the back of the head, moving up to the top of the head, to the parietal bone, all the way up to the top of your head. So sense your whole head. And then again, back down to your feet, your toes, your fingers, and sense your whole body. Imagine from the bottom of your feet, from your toes, from your fingers, sensing your whole body to the top of your head. Try to develop this sensation of self, this awareness of self. And then we're going to do Mr. Gurdjieff's filling exercise. We've just done it. We've spent a little bit more time doing it. But his instructions are, as a vessel fills with warm, golden honey, imagine filling with sensation, starting with the bottom of your feet and then filling your whole feet with sensation, up to your knees, filling with sensation from the bottom of your feet up to your hips, up through your torso, lower torso, mid-torso, up to your shoulders, filling with sensation from your fingers up to your shoulders, from your whole lower body up to your neck, then up through your head to the top of your head. And as I mentioned earlier, this ability to sense the body, to develop the sensation of self, is the most important practice we can engage in. But it's a preliminary practice. And the reason it is so important is because when we begin to develop more and more advanced forms of mindfulness, we always do it in the context of this awareness of our body. Mr. Gurdjieff once said to Peter Uspensky, you are missing the most important thing, that you are not present in this moment. And the only thing that we have in this moment is our physical body. Now, Mr. Gurdjieff never used the word mindfulness, but this is mindfulness. Mindfulness is any present-centered focus of our awareness done in a non-judgmental way. So to be mindful of my body here and now, in this moment, as fully as I can. And I've been practicing self-sensing myself since 1981. And so I'm capable of talking right now and holding in the back of my awareness as I am talking this sensation of myself, this physical awareness of my body. And the more and more and more advanced forms of mindfulness within these teachings are all predicated on this ability to maintain this awareness of our body. So I want you to just allow your attention to rest and to think of ourselves. We have a head brain, a body brain, and a feeling brain. We are three-brained beings. And we are capable of being mindful, of being aware, of bringing our attention into this present moment in one or all of these three brains. Now, as I said, the most important one is the awareness of our ability to self-sense. Everything comes through the body. Our feeling brain is located in our body. Our head brain is located in our body. So the ability to maintain this physical awareness is the most important dimension. To be able to keep it in the back of our awareness, recognizing that any mindful process, any mindful awareness has to, by definition, be intentional and voluntary. We can never accidentally be mindful. It always requires an act of volition, an act of intent. So to be aware of my body as one organic whole, to be aware of my body from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head while I'm talking right now, requires me to maintain a part of my attention on my body and to hold it on my body. Now, for some of you who are new to this is a skill that you will develop. We live in our body. We exist in our body. Now, just allow your attention to rest, and if you can, hold on to an awareness of your body, sort of in the background, do it. If you can't, don't worry about it. But right now, I would like everyone to open their eyes. Now, Mr. Gurdjieff said that the process of self-remembering, it actually begins with the awareness of, for instance, our eyes receiving visual impressions. Now, you can't see him, but right down here, my dog's lying on the ground. He doesn't have all the rods and cones in his eyes that I do. He cannot see the world that I see. I cannot see the world that he sees. There's a lot of overlap. He sees a bit more gray. He doesn't quite have the colors that my eyes have. This means that what I see is mediated by the eyes in my head. And Mr. Gurdjieff said that when we become aware of, for instance, the eyes receiving light into them, that this gives this an additional shock, an additional intensity that doubles the power of it. This is also the fact that when we become conscious of looking, conscious of our eyes looking, we are stepping up a level. Normally, we live in the mechanical world, the habitual world, the automatic world, which we can use the number 48 to define. And as we become mindful, we step up into world 24. World 24 is twice as refined, twice as intelligent, twice as vibrant as world 48. So there's a doubling of the intensity of information that, or of our ability to perceive through our eyes, for instance, when we step up to this level. Now, I would like you to become aware of what you can see in the foveal part, which if you stick your thumb out, it's really about the shape of your thumb. That's where your focus is. Become aware of that point in your eyes where you focus, that foveal point. And all the rest around it is in the periphery. And part of developing a mindful awareness of what we can see is to not only become aware of our focus, but to become aware of the periphery of our vision. So maintaining your focus on a spot, perhaps, become aware of what you can see in the periphery at the roof of your vision. And then let's move around clockwise. So become aware of what you can see towards the right-hand side while maintaining your awareness straight ahead. So we're becoming aware of the peripheral aspect of our vision. Then down to the bottom, and then back up to the left and back where we started. And let's move around a second time, just around the peripheral, not looking over to the peripheral, just being aware of it and allowing our awareness to circle around, and then do it a third time, that peripheral awareness. One of Mr. Gurdjieff's students, Paul Beidler, talked about a global awareness. This is trying to be aware not only of the focal point of our vision, but everything around it at the same time, a global awareness, an impartial awareness. This is with the eyes. Now we all have ears. In the ears, we can detect if a sound is coming from in front, if it's coming from above, if it's coming from behind, if it's coming from below. So just pay attention to your ears. Become aware of your ears. And I should also mention something important here, that we are apparatuses for the transformation of energy. Our food is an energy. The air we breathe is an energy. And Mr. Gurdjieff said that the impressions we receive are energies. So sound waves are coming in and they are causing the hairs on the inside of our ears to vibrate. And as a result, they are getting transformed, the transformation of energies into electrical impulses in our brain, which for you, you're making and you're turning into English and you're understanding these words. But there's a transformation of energies from the sound waves outside through the tiny hairs in our ears into the electrical impulses that we take as hearing. We're not hearing, you're not hearing my voice. It's the electrical impulses that have been, or the sound waves that have been transformed into electrical impulses that you are picking up on. It's the electrical impulses. So all of our senses are involved in this transformation of energy, a very refined energy. So really pay attention to what you can hear. Become aware if you can hear sounds far away, close by. Become aware of the sound of my voice. Perhaps you can hear something above or something below. Again, there's a focus of our hearing. J.G. Bennett says, if you hear a big loud noise, a part of your hearing goes out to that loud noise. So it's like we've got a foveal part, that part of focus for our hearing. But we also have a periphery to our hearing. So attempt to become aware of both the focus and the focal point of your hearing, and attempt to become aware of the periphery. And then move to the nose. Move to the sense of smell. Now, the nose is different. The eyes actually have cones and rods that pick up light and translate them into the electrical impulses. The ears have little hairs. And we have almost like taste buds in our nose, and our sense of smell and sense of taste are very related. If you've ever had a cold or plugged your nose when you've been eating, it has a profound effect on dulling the taste of food. But just become aware of what you can smell. Become aware of your own scent, perhaps. Become aware of the scent in your environment. Try to become aware of the direction, the source of odors if you can. Become aware of your nose, smelling. And there is a peripheral, again, to our sense of smell. Generally, we're not that aware of our sense of smell. In our modern world, it's kind of dulled. Whereas people who, for instance, live in the Borneo forest or the Amazonian rainforest have a much more developed sense of smell. They're much more aware of smell than we are. And again, become aware that we have a limitation as human beings. We can only smell what this organ of perception, what our nose is capable of detecting. My dog, he can smell 30,000 times what I can smell. His world is much more olfactory than mine. But it's important to be aware not only that we are smelling, but the organ of perception, in other words, our nose, and the involvement of our nose in smelling. And then we have our taste buds. And even though we may not be eating anything, we still have a taste in our mouth. So become aware of the taste in your mouth. Become aware of your taste buds and how you have taste buds on your tongue and lining the inside of your mouth. And it's through these taste buds that we taste. And I don't know them off heart, but I believe that there are 5 tastes, like sweet, sour, bitter, that we can taste. And so our taste is a mingling of those. Now, do your best to become aware of what you can see, both at the focus and the peripheral, aware of your eyes receiving this information. And while remaining aware of what you can see, also do your best to become aware of what you can hear, both at that focal point of your hearing and in the peripheral. And while remaining aware of your eyes and your eyes seeing and your ears hearing, become aware of your smell, sense of smell, your nose smelling. And while remaining aware of what you see, hear, smell, become aware of your mouth tasting. Now, try to overlap these. Try to divide your attention so that you are aware of your eyes seeing, your ears hearing, your nose smelling, your mouth tasting. Now, all of these perceptions are located in our head brain. And we can either think in words and pictures, we can have that internal self-talk, that internal dialogue whirling around in our mind, or the pictures. We can think of, our mother, and we can imagine her face, and we can imagine her voice. So the words and pictures, Mr. Gurdjieff called this mentation by thought, which is the words, and mentation by form, which is the pictures. And it's actually more than pictures, because you can recall the scent of a rose. You can imagine reaching for a door handle. So it's really, our sensory imagination. And this is why mentation by form is a much better phrase than visualization. But if you notice, if you become conscious, aware, mindful of what you see, your eyes receiving all of those visual impressions, the center, the peripheral, your ears hearing, your nose smelling, your mouth tasting. When you do this properly, it turns off the words and picture maker in your brain. And for the most part, the words and picture maker is the most hypnotic dimension to our being. It is the part that keeps us in a state of waking sleep. When you start talking to yourself and turning away, you lose the awareness of this moment and of being present here and now. Now, this is not entirely true, because one of the last things to work on in terms of mindful development is to become mindful of our thoughts and pictures. But that's way down the path. Right now, just notice what you can see, and your eyes seeing, your ears hearing, your nose smelling, your mouth tasting. These phenomenon, they're occurring in our head brain. Looking, listening, smelling, and tasting occur up in our head. The sensation of self, the awareness of our physical body from the bottom of our feet to the top of our head, is an awareness of our body brain. So the most important exercise from a Gurdjieffian perspective is the sensation of self. The next most important is to add the head to the body. And it's like we become a battery. The head is like the positive diode, and the body is like the negative diode. And in Beelzebub Tales, Mr. Gurdjieff uses the word autokolonitzers. He says a current flows, a substance is created between the positive and the negative, and the substance is really feeling. That's our third brain, but I don't really want to go into feeling today. What we're doing in terms of, and try to do this now, so holding an awareness of your physical body as best you can in the background of your awareness. It's got to be, so to speak, in second position. That's why the most important exercise we can work on and develop at the beginning is self-sensing, because we've got to be able to hold it in the back of our awareness while we then begin to mindfully look, aware of our eyes receiving impressions, listen, aware of our ears receiving sounds, smell, aware of our nose receiving olfactory impressions, taste, aware of our mouth receiving gustatory impressions, while sensing our body. And this is the most basic form of self-remembering. It's actually there are other ways we can self-remember, because self-remembering is technically defined as any two-brained mindful awareness as long as one of them includes the body. So we could actually just focus on what we see and hold the awareness of our body in the background, and we are self-remembering. Or we can focus on what we hear and hold our body in the background. But we've got to overlap. We've got to divide our attention. We've got to split our attention so that we become aware of more and more and more things going on in this moment. Ultimately, what I'm teaching right now is two-brained self-remembering. It is the awareness of the world around me as I can perceive it through my eyes, ears, nose, and taste buds, through my head brain, while aware of my body brain in this moment. So we can simplify this and say it's an awareness of myself here and now. So myself, my body, that's the awareness of my physical self in this environment. And I can only receive this environment through my head brain senses, through what I can see, hear, smell, and taste. So this is, as I said, it's what I call basic self-remembering. If you really want to get advanced and step into a different level, you become conscious of what you can see, hear, smell, taste, conscious of your eyes receiving visual impressions, your ears receiving auditory impressions, your nose receiving olfactory impressions, your mouth receiving gustatory impressions, your body receiving sensory impressions, while you become aware of your feeling circuit, starting in your solar plexus, but our feeling circuit goes basically from our navel up to our tear ducts and perhaps into the pineal gland in our third eye. So if we become aware of what we can see, hear, smell, taste, while sensing our body, and then become aware of perhaps a dollop of joy, a feeling of joy, bringing this joy into this moment while remaining aware of those other things, we are doing an advanced form of self-remembering. In other words, we are really being present here in this moment, fully as we can, as human beings, with our human eyes, our human ears, our human nose, our human taste buds, our human sensations, and our human feelings. So I'm going to now unmute everyone. Whoops. And the thing about self-remembering, exit, I don't know. The thing about self-remembering is you should be doing this. Mr. Gurdjieff said, remember yourself always and everywhere. So, people have read, about the life of Mr. Gurdjieff. He didn't believe in talking during meals, because when we talk and we're chatting, we're using the words and picture maker of our mind, and this is the most hypnotic, sleep-inducing part, and we can't really be present with the food and the taste. And so he liked to be very silent during meals, which is, you know, to be people in the West, it's not natural for us. We want to talk during meals. But I have a group called Toronto Mindfulness Walk, where I teach them basic self-remembering. Excuse me, I'm not sure how many get it, but where we become aware of what we can see, hear, smell, and taste, while aware of our body walking, aware of ourselves. You know, I live near this green space by a river. It's a lot of highway traffic, but get out into nature. We do not have to do mindfulness, you know, for 15 minutes a day and set our clock. It's something we should be striving to do wherever we are, whatever we're doing.
First thing in the morning.
And first thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, to throughout your day, to when you go to bed, if possible. Now, the other thing is mindfulness is a higher form of energy. And if we don't have that energy conserved within us, we can do it. Uspensky noted that at the most, they could do it for 2 minutes and then they would lose it. And he talked when he first learned to self-remember, he was doing it. And then I think he walked into a tobacco shop, and then he came back like 4 hours later and realized he'd been asleep and done errands and walked and this and that for 4 hours. This requires a higher level of energy. And this is the other part of the Gurdjieff teachings. It's figuring out where we are broken, sort of at the lower levels of our being, where we're habitual, where we're automatic, where our chief fault is, which is usually an emotion, that where we're broken, and to begin to fix the lower levels so that we can conserve that energy, and so that that energy then can be redirected into mindful awareness. Any comments on this exercise? Guido, any comments?
The whole, like I maybe think, like I think it is connected the 6 senses, you know. You talk about the 6 main things that do the 6 number 6 awareness of my mind, my nose, my smell, my taste, my hearing, my whole my body, which is there. It introduced me to maybe direct my attention to be closer to what I really am, you know. Otherwise, I cannot be present in any state. Like I can be driving, but it's a mechanical driving, you know. I know I know how to drive, but I'm not there, you know. And I can be a driver itself. I cannot be a driver. Or I don't know, maybe while I am driving, I ask myself what I have to do. You know, if I drive, or if I let the car to drive me.
Yeah. Driving can be a very mechanical, habitual process. The subconscious mind learns to drive, and the subconscious mind is much faster than the conscious mind. So we want the subconscious mind to drive, because if you think when you were 16 or whatever age you were when you first learned to drive, and you were learning with your conscious mind, and you were so much slower, especially if you had to learn the stick shift, and as it becomes a subconscious quality, there's a smoothness and a flow to it. But to try and bring that conscious awareness back. Ian, what are your observations? You come from a background in Buddhism, the somatic body. So the awareness of your physical body is very much an important part of your spiritual practices. But what about self-remembering, the head brain, the gestalt awareness, so to speak, of what we can see, hear, smell, taste?
One thing I noticed very strongly this time was because we started with such a in-depth relaxation and the filling, very strong awareness of the body. When we moved into the head brain, I was still attending my body. Body's still relaxed. You know, we're doing the eyes, we're doing the circle. Okay, great. We're doing the hill thing. Okay, great. But then the smell and the taste. And then when we brought them all together, I noticed that tension was creeping back into my body.
Did you notice where it was creeping back in?
What I noticed was mainly in sort of the chest and like the shoulder blades. So kind of the middle and the back of the chest area. And a little bit in the like the abdomen, the belly area as well, where I'm just chronically tense down there. That's one of my trouble spots. But it very much felt like there was some kind of an energy or fuel in my body that I was using to maintain the multi head brain awareness, and that's the same fuel that if I'm paying attention to my body, sort of if my attention on my body is turned up strongly enough, then the relaxation process kind of it happens more strongly. But it's hard to maintain that sort of ongoing conscious relaxation and being conscious of the multiple senses coming together. So it's a place to stretch, I think.
Yeah. To practice. We don't have to do the mindful looking, listening, smelling, tasting while sensing our body. Perhaps sensing the body, being aware of the body, and then just mindfully looking and being aware of the body. And when you develop that skill to begin to mindfully look and listen while sensing the body. I was very lucky. When I was 23 years old, my professor of psychology introduced this technique to my class, and somehow I got it. And I was talking to someone in a Willem Nyland group years later, and he said, "Oh, we would never have taught you that until you'd been with us for 5 years. You can't get it." And I said, "I got it. It was something that I did get." But there were 29 other people in my class who didn't get it. So just building up to it. Anna, this is the first time for you.
Yeah.
Any comments, any observations?
I really like it. I will practice it. I do have a lot of tension on my lower back and a little bit on my calf, a little bit on my feet as well. The head and the up, is fine. I'm fine with it. I know it will help me. And it's very interesting.
So was the tension in the bottom of your feet or your feet itself, or?
Yeah, the bottom of my feet, including my toes. I don't really, I also have problems with my feet, so I don't know. I mean, physical problems. But I've also been, it's on automatic pilot for many years.
Yeah.
So this is kind of new, but I really feel one with it. It's something that I'm going to practice, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and as I said, this is all contingent on energy. The mindful state. Normally, we live in a very mechanical, habitual state where we are little more than robots and automatons. And in the Gurdjieffian tradition, we use the number 48. And God, the Absolute, is number 1. And then there's the number 3, and then everything doubles. So 1, 3, 6, 12, 24, 48. So there's actually a reason to these numbers. And the numbers are important, but not at the preliminary stage. What's important to understand is any act of mindful awareness is the movement up to 24. So when we are mindful, for instance, we're under half the laws as opposed to when we're in our mechanical state. When we are mindful, we are being twice as intelligent, twice as vibrant as we are when we are in a mechanical state. So I'm a hypnotherapist. When I'm with my clients, I try to be as mindful as possible. And it's like turning them into slow motion, because I step up into that higher state of intelligence, that higher awareness. It's like slowing them down. And I see things that I wouldn't see if I'd been in the same mechanical state. But this is also energy. If we don't have the energy to sustain us, we can only experience these states for as much energy as we have. So at this point, it's important not to beat ourselves up or to get upset that we can't do this as much as we think we should. We can only do it as much as we can. So the other part of these teachings at the lower level is figuring out how to fix those leaks, you know, through our emotions, through our habits, through excessive thinking. George Adi, one of Mr. Gurdjieff's students who went to Australia, said that there are 7 aspects of sleep. And negative emotions. So we waste energy through negative emotions. We waste energy through identification, getting lost in what we're focusing on. We waste energy through internal considering. That's me, me, me. Why aren't they, you know, why is it raining on me? Why is this happening to me? I can't believe how bad my life is. We also waste it on formatory thinking, which is the whirling around in our mind. We waste it on lying. And we lie to ourselves all the time. We don't realize we're lying to ourselves. You know, you have a conversation with someone and you're talking about politics. Chances are you're lying and you're just regurgitating what you read. You've never really honestly owned those opinions. And, you know, you walk down the street, someone says, how are you? And you go, I'm fine. You know, that's a form of insincerity. That's a form of lying. I'm sure there's a couple that I'm missing. But, you know, these are all ways that we leak energy, that we waste energy. And so part of the system is figuring out where we waste that energy, while also pulling ourselves up to that level, up to the mindful level, coming back into our body, coming back in to our breath, coming back into this moment as we can see, hear, smell, taste. So it's a 2-pronged approach. One is pulling ourselves up, and the other is figuring out where we're leaking that energy, where we're wasting it. So it's not something we do in a week, and we should never beat ourselves up for not being able to do it. What we can do is what we can do. And it's a slow, gradual process. Ahmed, I'm still driving in Cairo.
Seems to be driving a long time.
Yes, very long distance. Yes.
Long distance. You're coming.
Are you driving or
No. I'm not driving. No, I'm not driving.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great. You seem to be going a long way.
Yes, it is. It's actually it is. I'm traveling from West Cairo to East Cairo. I mean, it's maybe 50 kilometers or something like this.
Yeah, but I mean, Cairo's a huge city, right? How many people live in Cairo?
25 million.
20, okay.
Yeah, it's 25, 27 million. Something.
Yeah, it's a huge number of people who live there.
Yes, yeah.
So,
actually, the exercise for me, it's fantastic because it's one of my major challenges is I'm too much into my head, and I found it very, very challenging to silence my monkey mind and my thoughts and going back and forth. And this is, for me, this is one of my major challenges. So I like it very much because it's helped a lot to silence my mind, to dampen those thoughts. That's actually sometimes I have a headache because of all those storms of thoughts that goes into my head. And also I'm type 5 on the Enneagram, which is the observer or the thinker, or the person who is detached from the external environment and has all those things happening inside his head. He's not living in the current moment, interacting with the present. So I like those things very much, and I'm willing to commit to keep it as part of my habitual life, to do it on daily basis.
If you notice, when you consciously look, listen, smell, and taste at the same time, you can't think.
Yeah.
You know, the words and pictures stop.
Yeah.
So you can do one or the other, but you can't do both of them. So if your problem is excessive rumination, you know, excessive thinking, to just begin observing with your head as much as possible, and that will diminish it. Now, you touched on something briefly there. Your understanding of the Enneagram through the Enneagram of personality is not Gurdjieffian.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But we know that. But it's interesting because it gives you an understanding of yourself. I'm not saying it's wrong. On the contrary, I think there's a lot of truth in the Enneagram of personality, but it's not really, you know, the way Mr. Gurdjieff understands personality. You know, he talks about you have to understand that there's a part of yourself that exists in world 48, a part that exists in world 24, and they could have completely different and opposite inclinations. But the interesting thing about the Enneagram of personality, it does give you an insight into yourself.
Yeah.
Now, according to Mr. Gurdjieff, any of those insights is not to say this is what I am. It's to say this is what I am. How can I be the opposite? So if you're extroverted, how you become introverted. I guess your journey's stopping.
Yeah, so sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Where are you? You said you're number 5. Emotionally, where do you leak energy as a number 5? Oh. I think we've lost him. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll move to Graham. Graham.
Hello.
You're nice and fidgety, Graham. You know.
Yeah, I've not eaten today, so I'm sort of just grabbing something on the go.
Yeah, I guess it's 3:30 in the afternoon where you are.
Yeah, yeah. It's about that now, I think.
Any comments on that exercise, Graham?
5 o'clock. No. It's. I mean, I struggle sometimes when I do self-remembering. I get a kind of a rapid heartbeat and a bit of a pain down here, you know, at the same time while I'm doing it. That's the only thing I've noticed when I'm self-remembering, but it has helped me. I mean, I suffer from anxiety and stress quite regularly anyway, but it has, from obviously doing the practice of self-remembering, it has took me out of that, being able to put myself in different parts of my body. It's took me out of that, the stress. And when I've been reading these Red Hawk books quite often. He says when the net starts to close in on you, then is the time to self-remember. And I tend to do that when I feel like I'm starting to feel anxious or fretting. And it takes a while, but I do get back into that state of mind again. But yeah, you know, that's what I'm doing at the moment.
You also, I mean, the way you described it to me, it sounds like you suffer from PTSD.
What's that?
Post-traumatic stress disorder. It's the result of being kicked in the head and being beaten up. And
I was attacked about a month ago by a paranoid schizophrenic, and he choked me unconscious and kicked me about my body whilst I was unconscious. My family and friends keep saying maybe the stress has come from that, you know, because it's the body stress and it remembers. Or no, you don't remember because you weren't conscious. Maybe your body remembers. I mean, I've been out and about, and I can, you know, when I hear a bang or something, a shout or something, I'll turn around. I've noticed I found myself turning around and like being a bit freaked out by it. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's to do with the attack. Yeah. I almost killed me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back longer than that, because I remember you posted a video, I don't know when it was, 6 months ago, a year ago, of people outside, threatening to kill you.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. I lived in Stapleford in Nottingham, and I had this neighbour. He had 2 dogs. Well, and they were defecating in the back garden, right? And I couldn't open my window at certain times because it was turning into a bog. And I'd spoke with him many times about cleaning it up, and it just got to a point where I had to get the local authority involved. And because of that, I'd been there a year. He'd been there 18 years, and he knew quite a lot of people around there. It started from obviously dealing with the council, then to being threatened from his friends. So every time I was coming in and out of my doorway, which passed his doorway, they were threatening me. So I had to leave. I had to leave there. So
a lot of stress. And stress and anxiety bring us out of the state of mindful awareness. It brings us back into our body. The other thing about mindfulness is that every act of mindful awareness involves an inward detachment. Yeah. So when we suffer from anxiety, when we suffer from tension, we're not able to be mindful. And so by learning and practicing this mindful awareness, coming back into our body, into our breathing, coming back into this moment, we are creating that separation. We are stepping back from the surface into a deeper perception of ourselves. And it is an antidote to the anxiety response. It's an antidote to PTSD. But when you've experienced and you've been stuck in that state of fear, it's really hard to step back, to create that inward distance, that psychological distance. Anyone else have any comments, any things they would like to add? I guess we've lost Ahmed. It looked like his ride came to an end. Sorry.
Alan, are they all you draw all these pictures behind you?
No, they're my daughter. My daughter goes to what's called OCAD. It's the Ontario College of Art and Design University. So they're all hers.
Wow. How old is she?
27.
She's really good at it.
The black ones, the lion and the dragon, you can't really see them that well. Those are T-shirts that are being framed.
Okay.
So she did a line of T-shirts, and she's a really good artist. So
very good. Yeah, very good.
It's what she's studying, at University Art.
Okay.
Any other comments? Anything? And throughout this, as I encourage people, sometimes in my actual physical group, I'll just sit with a little bell on, and whenever I go, just to get people to come back to their bodies, to come back to our breath, to come back to our breathing. And I guess Guido's still having connection problems, and Ahmed must have finished his journey. Oh, there's Ahmed.
I'm here.
Okay.
So I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, I was actually asking you a more detailed question. I mean, this is something I do want to go into. I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I've mentioned it with the online group that Mr. Gurdjieff, for instance, says that whatever astrological sign we are, that there's some kind of a truth in it. There's some kind of a particularity that applies to us. So for myself, I'm born under the sign of Libra, and so I seek balance and harmony, and it's a quality that I'm quite proud of. And then he said that in the ancient science of astrology, whatever we are, we're supposed to develop the opposite. So for me, I've got to become more judgmental. I've got to become more jarring, less a peacemaker, more asking for my own needs to be met. So I've got to create this lever and begin to, to move it. Where are, number 5 on the Enneagram? what is your dominant emotional reaction to the world? I know that one Enneagram, I forget who it was, Helen Palmer, was based on emotions. And, you know, where you're broken, if you're broken with anger, or if it's fear, or if it's despair, your primary emotion. And then we have a secondary negative emotion and a third one. So you could be an angry, fearful, despairing person, or an angry, despairing, fearful person, depending on the, you know where you are.
Yeah, actually, type 5 is in the fear triad.
The fear.
It's in the head. They call it the head triad, and they call it the fear triad because their main concern is fear. 5, 6, and 7. This is the head triad and the fear triad. But each one of the 3 types in the head center, they have fear from something different than the other. So 5 is fear of depletion of resources that he has through collecting information and collecting resources. So he wants to be resourceful, and he has fear that these resourceful, when he's interaction with other people, with the external environment, with relationship, this relationship would drain his energy, would drain his resources. So he keeps himself alone. He prefers solitude. He prefers to live inside his head because this is his main concern and fear, that he's gonna be out of, you know, all the resources that he has, and this is how he survives in life, through those resources, and so on. So that's why he lives in his head. So, and 6 and 7 has other, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, just
concepts,
focusing on yourself. This is actually also a profound act of mindful awareness. To be aware of these qualities within yourself. And then to grow the opposite is the more difficult, but that's also part of the journey. In World 48, as machines, we're under 48 laws. So we've got this part of ourselves that it's stuck. It can't move. When we begin to work on it and we begin to move the lever, we free ourselves from those laws that keep us stuck. So things like the Enneagram of personality, the Myers-Briggs personality test, all of the personality tests actually show us where we're stuck. And they don't necessarily show us how to free ourselves, but that's also part of the journey. Learning, you know, figuring out where we are, figuring out how we're stuck. At some point, when I get the group back up again, and like I said, I'm going to be bringing people in the next few weeks, I would like us to look at some of these things. And now we have an expert on the Enneagram personality. So maybe that will be one of the means that we look at, one of the personality tests that we take. That you can take them online and figure out what you are, and not to figure out what we are, but to figure out what we have to grow away from, what we have to develop the opposite in order to free ourselves. If you're an introvert, you've got to develop extroversion so that you can move freely. If you're an extrovert, you've got to develop introversion. And we've got to grow so that we are free and we swing and we're not so constrained. So it's almost noon. Let's just bring ourselves back to our body again. To recognize that our body is our loyal and faithful companion. Wherever we go, our body is always with us. As a matter of fact, our eyes, ears, nose, taste buds, our brain, our heart, our feelings, they're all located in our body. Without our body, we would be disembodied beings. And Mr. Gurdjieff said that the act and fact of embodiment gives us the opportunity to grow and evolve in ways that we could not grow or evolve if we didn't have a body. So it's a profound miracle. It's a profound act of existence that we are embodied beings. And yet we never really give our body our attention. We never really bathe our body in the power of our attention. Quite often we go to bed far later than we should. We don't listen to the body, or we take sleeping pills to get to sleep, and then we wake up and we pour coffee down our throat to wake up. And we don't really take the time to listen to our body. As a hypnotherapist, our body is very metaphorical. Liver is the seat of anger, the kidneys worry, the veins joy, different things like that. And so problems in the body also indicate emotional blockages. And so learning to work on our body, learning to be aware of our body, learning to bring that energy of awareness, that energy of attention into our body actually begins to change our body. It changes our relationship to our body. By bathing our body in that higher energy, we also slowly, in a very imperceptible way, begin to reharmonize our bodies. If you look at small children, they don't have the thoughts and picture mind of the brain developed. They are very aware of their body. They're body-based beings. And, you know, we must become as little children. There are so many different implications of that phrase, but one of them is this connection to ourself. So bring your awareness back to your body. Bring your awareness back to the sensation of self, from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head, however much you can do it, you know, toes, feet, lower legs, knees, upper legs, hips, lower torso, middle torso, upper torso, hands, lower arms, upper arms, shoulders up to our head. Try to maintain and develop this sensation of self. And the hardest part about being mindful, about being aware, about using this power of attention in the most advanced part of our brain to bring us into this moment is having the presence of mind to do so. So the presence of mind to be aware of my body, to sense my body, to sense the touch of clothing on my skin, the air that touches my face, the hair on my head, any jewelry I may be wearing, to sense gravity on my body, the pressure points below my seat, below my feet, where I'm touching the ground. To do this as often as we can, to develop this skill. It's like a muscle. The more we develop it, the stronger it gets, the easier it gets. But as I said, it's very complex because it's all predicated on having enough energy. Now we wake up, according to Mr. Gurdjieff, with enough energy in the morning to fuel these higher states of awareness throughout the day. And one of the things that I like to do is, when I'm aware that I'm awake, I come into my body as fully as I can before I even get out of bed. I'm just in my body, sensing my body, aware of my breathing, inhabiting my body as fully as I can. So I'm going to ask you, I mean, you know, we're going to have to leave. It's almost noon. I've got a client coming in a few minutes. Just to do your best this week. And we'll talk about it at the beginning of the next meeting, to bring your awareness into your body, to find out perhaps those places where it's very difficult, those places where it's easier, to try and be aware of the things that trip you up, the things that can help you. Just there's no right or wrong to this. It's just trying to do it as best as you can from where you are with the resources that you have. At any rate, I have to go now, and some of you have to go. I would like to thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Okay. You take care. Okay.
Bless you.